Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away. Our bodies move to the groove and the light that flickers. We get lost in the crowd, it's getting thicker. We get away from the drinks and chatter. Haven't said a word, but it doesn't matter. Feel the air getting there. Standing in a blurry dream. No one else can see us. Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.
You're watching JJDrones on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Karl Marx. You're watching JJDrones on YouTube.
I'm Karl Marx and I approve this message.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go.
Live from the Volvo 780 studios in Anywhere, USA. This is JJDrones Live. And now, here's JJDrones.
And it's JJDrones Live. Welcome to the train wreck. Thank you everybody for coming in today for our 9/11 special. We're broadcasting from Des Moines, Iowa. Thank you for coming in, Slane 362. And there are 4 other people in the background. But if you would like to have one of your videos featured on my website, email me, Jason at JJDrones360.com. And for everything JJ Drones related, go to JJDrones360.com. And if you're going to do some shopping on Amazon, go to JJDrones360.com/Amazon1. Use the links on that website. Help me support Wreaths Across America out there, because all of the donation or all of the proceeds that I get from my Amazon One account is going to go directly to Wreaths Across America. And if you have a blinker fluid submission, email Dan, droningveteran@gmail.com. And if you would like to order some of Haley's coasters, all proceeds from that also go to Wreaths Across America. They're $10 each. Just go to paypal.me/JJDrones. We're going to go ahead and get those made for you however you would like them. Hey, Dad, thank you for coming in. And hey, Shade Tree America, thank you for coming in today. Appreciate you being here. We also have our call-in number, 608-492-1977. That's 608-492-1977. Later on in the show, we're going to see if anybody's interested in calling in today. Today is our 9/11 special, and it's a 9/11 special because I've got a lot to say about 9/11, but I also do have my co-host on the show. So let's bring them in, starting off with GMoney from the GMoney Podcast, and Dan, the droning veteran.
What's up, everybody?
He is on special assignment up in Montana.
Special, super secret little pipe.
Yes.
Not here.
Well, yeah. I mean, no, you're not there. You're not in Montana. I gave away too much already. So so this is kind of like how September 10th was, okay? September 10th, 2001. Right now it is September 10th, 2023. And the way that September 10th, 2001 went, it was just like any other day. It was a Monday. Everybody went to work. I went to work. It was the day before my son was born. And so I had the day off the next day to be there for the birth of my son. So I pretty much was just anxious to get this day over with because I just wanted to just be able to meet my new son. So just live my life just like I would any other day. I went in, I did things around the house, I went to work, and then I came home, and I had a hard time sleeping that night just because of all that I knew was going to be going on the next day. Dan, what were you doing on September 10th, 2001?
I was just chilling like a villain. I actually, September 9th, 2001, I just got home from a month-long rotation at the National Training Center, NTC, in California.
Oh, wow. So you were in hell.
No, well, I just got back from hell. I was enjoying life, and we woke up because we was off. We was given a 4-day pass for the weekend because we just got off a month-long rotation. And I was in Alaska, so it was about 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. My phone started ringing off the hook, and I didn't want to answer it. I pick up the phone, and my mom's like, "We're at war." I'm like, what are you talking about? Go turn on the TV. And so I went and turned on the TV, and I think that was about the time that the second tower fell.
Oh, wow.
Just
So
a horrible deal.
So after that, you actually saw what was going on. What was going on in your head at the time?
I was just waiting for a phone call to call us in. And that honestly never happened. We didn't get, we finished our 4-day weekend, and they came in. I think the only thing that saved us was my unit in Alaska was transitioning into the Stryker Brigade, so we was non-deployable.
Oh, okay.
Until the transition took place. So I don't know if that saved us from going that round or not. But
now, were you living in New York at the time?
No, we was up in Alaska.
Oh, you were living up in Alaska. Okay. So you were far away from all this.
Yeah, we was pretty far away, but I mean, it was crazy. Base was locked down, obviously, and everybody was mad. We had a few people that got lucked out, and they went to the first rotation into Iraq as fill-ins for people for units that couldn't go.
Right. So when you actually did end up going to Iraq, how long was it after that?
I did not go till my first rotation was 2004, 2005.
Oh, okay. So you had a couple of years.
So I had a couple of years, and then I was excited to go, but I was kind of mad to go because I was at Fort Bragg, and I actually had a jump school slot pending, and I was preparing for jump school. And then we came down on orders for Iraq, and deployment trumps jump school.
So if
maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I don't know.
I mean, if you ever do want to just jump out of a plane, we could do a video on that.
I don't know. I'm a bit wiser now.
So did you know anybody that actually did go down to Ground Zero to help with cleanup and anything like that?
Yeah, not personally.
Okay. Let's see here.
Yep.
Chris says, thank you for your service, Dennis.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I can't see any of the chat.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fine. There's 5 people in here. Thank you so much for coming in. And G-Money, where were you on September 10th, 2001?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I heard you talking earlier. You said September 11th was a Monday. Is that correct?
No, September 10th was the Monday. September 11th was Tuesday.
Okay. So September 10th, I was literally, I had been living in my father's residence in Newark, Delaware. And I was working for a local Newark, Delaware company that did ground excavation. Basically, they would clear fields. And this one particular one we were working on was kind of like a sloped ground type thing. So there was a lot of digging and re-leveling of different lots, and there was a lot of like complicated dirt work, just dirt work. Literally, like you're just dudes playing in the mud, And I was operating like a big, like exaggerated Tonka truck,
Right.
And then one of the guys had a big excavator type, like with a real big bucket on it, and he had a cab, and so that's what we were doing on the 10th, and we were doing the same thing the next day. So
Okay. Well, so everybody was just going about their business, doing just living life, right? But nobody knew what was going to happen on September 11th. And September 11th started off just like any other day. And I'm just going to warn everybody that this is a very graphic video. So definitely, viewer discretion is advised. So, but I think it's an important video for everybody to watch. And so September 11th happened just like any other day. And then this all happened.
Say again. Executive 956, did you understand that transmission? Yeah, that transmission he said was unreasonable. It sounded like someone said they have a bomb on board. Did you hear the transmission where the airplane just said he had a bomb on board? Affirmative, he said there was a bomb on board. That's what we thought. We just, we didn't get it clear. That aircraft, you can't get a hold of. Is he turned to the east now? He's just turned to the east also. Okay, 956, we had a visual out of this standby. Do you have a visual on him now? We did, but we lost him in the turn. If you can make a turn back to a 220 heading, let me know if you can see him. They were making a turn at 956. Negative, we're seeing anybody northwest of you. We're looking now, sir. Okay, American 10-6 and Executive 956, we just lost the target on that aircraft.
Man, Z100 852. Something weird is going on.
Yeah.
The World Trade Center is on fire.
Oh my Seriously, the top of the building. We're trying to get information.
Top level of one of the news to unfold from New York City.
A plane crash. Just.
My sister's in that building.
Okay.
And I hope she's okay, and I gotta run to New York. Oh my God, it's complete pandemonium.
First of all, calm down.
There's raining papers and ashes and...
People are jumping out the windows. Oh, they're jumping out the windows.
A second plane has now flown in.
Wait, explosion at the Pentagon?
A third location is on alert and outside of
I
Washington.
don't have words to describe what I'm witnessing right now.
Effective immediately until further notice, flight operations in the national airspace system by United States civil aircraft and foreign civil and military aircraft are prohibited.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
On itself, and it is
It just landed on Manhattan.
One of the World Trade Towers has collapsed and fallen.
Oh my God, they're Let's go, let's go. I've never seen anything like this.
I've got 5 patients. They need to be... We got an ambulance full of cops and pedestrians. Another tower that just came down. All the cops away from the building. You got a female officer down. Female officer, where are you now, King? Where are you, King? Where are you?
We're not going to be stopped. We're not going to be deterred. We're not going to stay at home. We're not going to be frightened. We're going to live our lives as Americans.
We're all brothers. We all gotta stick together.
My God, look at the skyline without the towers.
It is Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. This is Glenn Beck. Dateline, New York. In one of the most audacious attacks ever, terrorists hijacked 2 airliners, crashed them into the World Trade Center in a coordinated series of blows today that brought down the twin 110-story towers. Thousands may be dead. 58,000 people work at the World Trade Center.
Sean, it's me. I just wanted to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building. I'm waiting at the building for a bomb went off. We don't know, but there's lots of smoke, and we just wanted you to know that I love you.
One plane, United Flight 93, crashed north of Somerset County Airport, a small airport 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. United said that flight, Boeing 757, left Newark at 8:01, headed for San Francisco at 38.
Just knowing that will prevail.
We will not tire. It is as old as the scriptures. We will not falter. And is as clear. And we will not fail. As the American Constitution.
That is the news of this day. September 11th, 2001.
Now, just for anybody that watches the replay, if you want to watch this video, it's probably going to be taken off by YouTube. But the link for the video is going to be in the description below. But I think it's an important video for people to watch. Thank you to Blaze Media for making that video. I've been watching that video every year since 2002. and items have been added to it. But 2001, man, that was a day. That was a day that I was excited for. I remember getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going down to the local hospital and bringing my ex-wife in to have, we had it all set up to where they would induce labor and she was going to give birth to him that day. There was no question about it. And right around 6 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from my older sister, and she said, I don't know if I had to have been later on in the morning. It was probably right around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning that she called. And she said, I don't know if you've been watching the news, but this is a horrible day for your son to be born. And I said, well, what's going on? And she said that a plane had hit one of the Twin Towers. And I was like, well, what's that got to do with me? That's New York City. That's got nothing to do with me. But it was, and then my dad's saying can't get you on the TV YouTube. Let's even see if this is going out on the YouTube. Let's see. Hang on, guys.
I don't think anybody else has commented, so I think you're probably okay.
Okay, so yeah, we're still on YouTube. So Dad, let me put the link into the chat. There's the link. But hopefully that'll help you. Okay, thank you, Chris, for letting me know that it's still live. But she called me up and I was like, I don't even know what that has to do with me, because I've heard of other times that planes have crashed into the World Trade Center, but when I actually looked at the news and I actually saw the fact that it wasn't just a tiny Cessna that went into the building, I knew that it was more. And then I'm sitting there watching, and instead of paying attention to my ex-wife who's sitting there in labor, I'm paying attention to what's going on to the TV, and I'm watching as that second plane, as you saw in the video, is coming into the second tower. And I was just in shock, and I think all of us were in shock. Dan, did you get to see that, or were you not tuned into that?
No, well, I got to see the second plane. I think I seen the second plane hit live. It might have been a replay, but I was just in shock.
And then GMoney, you said that you weren't able to watch, but you were listening where you were at.
Yes, sir.
And go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was just like, because we woke up and they didn't know what was going on at the time, but I turned over to my wife and I says, I'm going to Iraq. And I did.
Yeah, well, that's got to be a sinking feeling for you.
Yeah. But, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I was glad to step up, hop on the plane and go over there, and, keep the fight over there, because if we wouldn't have went over there to keep the fight over there, they would have brought the fight to us and to our families, so.
Right. Well, not only would they did.
Well, they did, but they would have brought it back again. And they did a couple attempts, too.
Right.
Several attempts.
Yes. GMoney, when you were sitting around the radio on your job site there, what was the feeling of the people that were around you? Because you were over there in Delaware, and so you were not that far away from New York City at the time.
No, sir. I don't know how many miles it would be, by air, but we were working with the excavation and stuff like that in the middle of this field, where we were basically by air like 10-15 minutes from Philadelphia International Airport. So we were right on a major flight path where we were working on the ground. So there was a lot of air traffic all the time. I mean, it was like way above, it wasn't like they're real low or anything like that. But when we found out later that the FAA and the president grounded all flights, it was the eeriest feeling in the world, because I literally lived across the street. When I say across the street, in the community across the way there was silence. It was like I told you earlier, pre-chat, it was like Red Dawn. It was like you didn't hear birds chirping or nothing. Maybe that's just, looking back on it, but it was weird. There was no flights, nothing. Everybody stopped moving. We were all around, all the workers, these grown men that are supposed to be tough construction guys, were all huddled around this track hoe. The operator had the doors open. He had the only radio on site, and we just sat there listening to what's going to happen next. And we sat there for hours. We didn't even do any more work the rest of the day. We just listened to the tragedies that were happening.
Now, going back to the video, and Dan, you can jump in on this too. But going back to the video, there were people that were trapped in the buildings, and they were. I mean, the buildings were on fire, and there were first responders that were trying to go up into the building to rescue the people that were up on those top floors. And the flames were just getting hotter and hotter and hotter, going up and up and up. And I don't know about you, Dan, but if it gets to the point where I'm going to basically make a split-second decision that I'm either going to stay in that burning building or I'm going to jump, because I believe that the jump is going to be better for me than burning alive. That's just got to be like the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, you can't even imagine that. What those guys was going through to think about jumping.
And the reason that I want everybody to check out that video, and the link is in the description of this video. And like I was saying before the video ended, if YouTube pulls it down in the replay, go check out that video. The link is in the description below. And you hear the phone calls from people that are trapped in the towers, not sure what happened, because they had no idea. They had no idea. And there are plenty of documentaries out there that the alarm system inside the Twin Towers were telling people to stay in place. They were telling people don't go downstairs. But if the flames are coming, your first instinct is to try and get away from it as much as you can. And I still remember that day, and I still remember watching the news. The news anchor talking about possibly putting a helicopter up in the air and taking people out by helicopter up from the roof of the building. Nobody thought that those buildings were going to come down.
Yep.
So GMoney, you have some times, because you did some extensive research for this, so what did you find out as far as when the flights left and when they ended up colliding with the buildings?
Okay, I have a real detailed timeline of everything broken down by minute, what agency did what at what time and stuff like that, but it can get very confusing. So what I've done is I've broken it down by each individual flight, what occurred for each individual flight. So do you want me to give a detailed explanation for each flight now?
Yeah.
Sir? Okay. All right. First of all, flight number 11, it departed Logan International Airport in Boston at 7:59 a.m. At 8:19 a.m., it was reported as hijacked. At 8:24 a.m., a hijacker tries to communicate with the cabin, but transmits to air traffic control. I believe that's the one where he stated he had a bomb on board and what have you.
Right.
And,
yeah, you can clearly hear that in the video.
Correct. So he just didn't know how to use the communication system, and he 8:40 a.m. Air traffic control at the FAA alert. It was called NORAD's Northeast and also Northeast Air Defense Sector in response to NEADS located at Cape Cod Air National Guard base. They were trying to deploy some fighter jets, and they were not yet in the air, and the impact on the North Tower was 8:46 a.m. The aircraft struck the floors approximately between floor 93 to floor 99, and unfortunately, by the time the fighter jets were activated, the impact had already occurred. So now we're going to go to the second flight. That would be Flight 93. It departed Newark International Airport in Newark, New Jersey. It was a Boeing 757. I believe the first one was a 767. I forgot to write that down, but my memory serves me correctly. It was a large. They're both large aircrafts. So Flight 93 departed Newark International Airport with 44 aboard. Destination was San Francisco, originally scheduled to depart at 8 a.m. That's a key point in this. These terrorists were very organized, unfortunately. That flight was delayed and did not take off until 8:41 a.m. And that was the one that crashed into a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, killing 40 plus passengers plus the crew. The reason that crash occurred is well documented, where the passengers on board knew that there was these other terrorist attacks occurring in the air, and they knew they were also going to be potential victims. That's when the let's roll and all that stuff occurred, and so that's how that incident happened. So Flight 77, it departed Dulles International Airport at 8:20 a.m. Destination was Los Angeles, California. On board was 59 civilians, 6 crew members, and 5 hijackers. At 9:37 a.m., the jet crashed into the western facade of the Pentagon, killing all aboard, plus 125 military and civilians in the Pentagon. This one bit of information I'm going to interject. I don't know if it's true. I could see why our government would hide this, not to give the terrorists credit, but I had heard personally that a general was killed during that attack. I don't know if that was ever verified. I know they would like to, if it was true, they would not
keep it
like
on the down low. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, so that's what happened there. So in that, at 9:42 a.m., this is the only thing that's not really related to a direct flight. At 9:42 a.m., the FAA and the President of the United States grounded all flights. So there was a lot of aircrafts already in the air, but nobody else was permitted to take off at that point.
Right.
So Flight 175 departs Logan International Airport, that's also in Boston, at 8:14 a.m. destination was also Los Angeles, California, had 60 civilians on board, 9 crew members, and 5 hijackers. At 9:03 a.m., it crashed into the South Tower. At approximately the floor levels would have been the 75th floor to the 85th floor, killing all on board. I think I've covered all the flights. And now for the totality of the loss of life, the Twin Tower deaths alone was 2,977 victims, plus the 19 hijackers. That brought that total to 2,996. And then with the other flights involved, and there was 343 firefighters died trying to make rescue attempts in that effort, as well as 71 law enforcement officers. The totality, if my math is correct, the totality for that incident was 3,718 total losses. That's not including the residual deaths that occurred later due to toxins and smoke inhalation and all the other tragedies that followed afterwards. So that's my contribution to this.
And
broadcast.
thank you for getting all that information. And you said that you actually knew a couple people that were in the Twin Towers. Did you have any conversations with them about their experiences?
One gentleman, we were sitting down at Dunkin' Donuts one day, and we were kind of talking like fishing business, tackle business, and he touched on it briefly, and he told me he was in one of the towers. I thought he said the north tower, I don't remember, and I thought he said he was around the 55th floor, but that was such a long time ago. I really don't remember exactly what he said, but he saw a lot of serious stuff in the military as a Marine, and he talked about that, and I know that was very traumatic. We have been on some YouTube like entrepreneur channels together, and that was kind of mentioned in the past. I truly believe like with Dan, if he was in some real serious combat situations or on some, like, I'm not the type of dude like, hey, did you, I'm not going to ask those questions, did you see loss of life? Did you have to take a life or anything like that? I know it was a tragedy. I know it was very traumatic. So I never did pry and ask him questions about it. If people want to talk about it, I'll listen. I'm not going to ask the questions.
Now there was a lot of footage from after the planes hit the towers, and I'm assuming that a lot of the dust was the result of the buildings coming down and the dust and stuff from all of the drywall and stuff from inside the buildings as the buildings coming down. There were so many attempts to taking down the World Trade Center with bombings that didn't end up working, and then this was one way that they felt like they could get to us. And Dan, I would imagine that maybe you knew some ladies or gentlemen that after that day happened. I know that there was a big recruiting push to get more people into the military. Did you see a bunch of new people joining the ranks after that day?
Yeah, there was a lot of people that joined after that day. It was, I don't know, they kind of looked at, we was like pre 9/11 soldiers and post 9/11 soldiers type deal. I mean, I came in before, but not that long before. I mean, I joined in '99, and honestly, when I joined, I had no idea that I would go to. I was like, man, we're not going to go into war while I'm in. I could be in for 50 years and not go to war. And little did I know.
No, I absolutely get that. Anthony, he says that he had two friends that he worked with at Citibank that died. And Anthony, if you want, you can feel free to call in and tell us your story from 9/11, because this is all about you guys. This is a remembrance show. Now for me, after the towers fell, we were still in the hospital, obviously, because we were pretty much there for my son until they would release us, which wouldn't be until like the next day. But there was a prayer service that happened in the hospital. But the biggest problem that I saw was the gas companies raising the prices on gas. I wasn't personally outside looking at it, but somebody I don't remember if it was my mom. Somebody came in saying that the gas prices went up to like $6 or $7 a gallon. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, my son was just born. How am I going to be afford to fill up my gas tank to go back and forth to work because of all the gas stations raising their prices? And obviously, the government stepped in and said, hey, you guys can't be doing this price gouging thing. But that was a huge concern of mine at the time. But I hadn't experienced anything like this. I mean, I grew up during Gulf War I, but that wasn't anywhere near what this was. Okay, this was an attack on our homeland. This was attack on our personal, free, or on all of us personally. And it was a scary time, because other than Pearl Harbor and the people that went through something like that, you wouldn't have any sort of form of reference to go back and look at on how people actually were able to, get through it. Yes, G-Money.
I just want to note a comment that's been mentioned a couple times in the chat by Shade Tree America. That would be Chris. He says LB from Woman Outdoors was working on one of the towers. She has an amazing story. So that's something to keep in maybe that could be in an interview in the future.
Absolutely.
In the future. And then one other thing that really struck me, it didn't strike me until a long time later after that incident occurred. But when I was doing this research tonight, it reminded me, it said that in the two towers, you have 10 to 14,000 people trying to evacuate all at the same time. And you can imagine the total chaos that would be, plus, debris falling all around you and what have you. But what I was thinking about later is, I'm just going to make up an example. Like, okay, let's say you have a young lady who's like a administrative assistant. She's 28 years old, living by herself. She's in a condo or apartment, whatever. She has a cat or a dog and everything. And think about all the animals that probably died in these homeowners' apartments because nobody knew that they had a pet. They couldn't get to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's so many pets that probably died that nobody ever has talked about, because you just don't reach into a pile of rubble, pull out an idea. Okay, let's go check this apartment, see if there's a cat or a dog in there. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
So there's a lot of other deaths that I'm sure were related to that incident. With the animals. It's sad. It's really is sad.
Now, that did bring up another point that I don't think people realize, is that not only did you have the towers going up, but you had the car garages that went underneath the buildings, and there was also a subway line that went down underneath the Twin Towers, because people would go back and forth to work using the subway, and they'd be dropped off right at under the Twin Towers. So there were people underneath, there were people above, just everywhere. Now, you can't fail to mention the bravery of the people that brought down the plane in Shanksville that you mentioned. I mean, I think if Dan were on that plane, Dan would probably be the one saying, let's roll, and, kicking some butt there. Hey, wouldn't you, Dan?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I would be a little bit, I would definitely go for it. I'm not in that situation, but, I would like to think that I would.
On that particular flight, like I mentioned earlier, they all the people, like the guy that I forget his name, that was famous for the "Let's Roll" comment. He was already tipped off by his wife that all this terrorist activity was already going. That was the flight that was delayed, so they pretty much knew that they were SOL, unless they tried to take action. So if you can die one way or you can die another way.
Right.
We'll do it the heroic way, right?
Right. And Chris from Shade Tree America says, don't forget the mall that was underneath the tower. So there was also a mall down there. So, there's so many different people that were working in those buildings, and then just people shopping, just living their day-to-day lives, which is what we were told to do. And we're going to get into September 12th here in a second. But I just want to honor the memory of all of those people that perished that day, that were on the flights that went into the towers, that were on the flight that went down in Shanksville, and that showed absolute 100% heroism. And that we don't know where that plane was going. They were anticipating that it was probably going to the White House, and then the plane that went into the Pentagon, and all the people that were lost there. And G-Money, you brought up the general thing. I heard that it probably hit a side of the building that maybe had a nursery in it. So that would have been even worse. So there's so many people that perished that day. And we don't want to forget. That is the number one thing that we don't want to do. We don't want to forget, because it was because of that day that we sent people like Dan over there to Iraq and Afghanistan to fight on our behalf. And Dan, I thank you for your service to our country, and it's because of people like you that we're all still here today, and we're still enjoying the freedoms that we do have today. And September 12th was the day that everybody came out, and everybody was joined together. It's the first time that you ever saw Republicans and Democrats come together underneath one building, and they all sang "God Bless America." And the president said, go on with your daily lives. He said, go shopping. Don't let the terrorists basically stop our economy, because that's what they want to do. They wanted to stop our way of living. And people joined hands, and people joined underneath a common goal. And it didn't last very long, but there was one bright moment during this entire ordeal, that this country was able to come together underneath a common goal, because we all enjoy the freedoms that we were given. We all enjoy the freedoms that have been granted to us by God, our unalienable rights that can't be taken away from us, because we live in the greatest country on earth. And because of the sacrifice of the people that died everywhere around the world is why I'm raising money for Reese Across America. All of the soldiers that died because of 9/11 that went over to Iraq and Afghanistan, they're not the only soldiers. I mean, you get soldiers that go all the way back to the Civil War, okay? But we've got these soldiers that we sent over there that not only died in battle over there, but are also dying 22 soldiers a day, which is why the Mission 22 project is important. So if you want to give money to the Mission 22 project, go visit Brian at Cheesehead Media. Go check out his page. He's taking donations for the Mission 22 project. But if you would like to donate to the Wreaths Across America Fund, we got another donation today from Gary, so thank you, Gary. We're at $1,454. That's $1,454. That is, let me look here. 85 wreaths. We have 85 wreaths, folks. And we are only right around $250 away from the next donation that my dad will do of the $250 that would get us up to $2,000. It's important to remember. It's important, Dan, what does it mean to a veteran when you see people who are willing to go that extra mile and to donate to a place like Wreaths Across America or the Mission 22 project? What does it mean to you as a veteran?
It's just heartwarming. I mean, you know, I try and donate what I can a little bit, but you know, it is heartwarming. I mean, you know, this has nothing to do with 9/11, but like when I was stationed in Germany, you know, we'd be walking around town, and even though I was in my civilian clothes, you know, a lot of the older citizens of Germany, Europe, and that area, you know, they'd be like, "You GI, thank you." You know, even though we didn't do anything, you know, like I wasn't even a thought of anything.
Right.
Back in World War II, but the people that was still alive there are still thanking us, and that really, you know, got, you know, that hit hard. I mean, that was just an honor, for me, anyways.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, definitely, if you can't do it now, I'm running this donation drive up until Thanksgiving weekend, and I am going to be doing an auction for a quilt that was made for the channel from Kathy Clausen over there at 906 Quilting Services. We thank her so much for that. That's going to be happening probably the first week in October. So look forward to that. And then I still do have the merchandise at jjdrones.com/donate. That's jjdrones360.com/donate. Sorry. You can go there. You can buy merchandise. You can just donate directly to the Wreaths Across America Fund. But I just want to thank everybody that has donated. Dan, the droning veteran, has donated. GMoney has donated. We've got Chillin', Indiana Carl. He has donated. We got Ted from Off the Hook Outdoors. He has donated. We've got Shirley from Just Doing Our Best. She donated a large chunk of money. Chillin', Indiana Carl. He donated a large chunk of money. Obviously, the JJ Drones channel has donated, and then Brian at Cheesehead Media, he has donated. So we've got, and then my dad, Dave Johnson, he's been chipping in as we reach certain milestones. So I just want to thank everybody that's donated so far. If I missed you, I apologize. I don't have the list in front of me right now, but I will have an updated list as time goes on. Let's see here. Oops. Okay, I thought I got a text message from somebody, but I did not. Let's see here. And then, Anthony, I appreciate the comment, but not trying to get into the politics of it. That's not a direction that I want to go, because that would make this a 5-hour program. But I do just want to remember the people that died. And I do want to just remember the day. Like they say, never forget. And there's so many people that have forgotten. There's people that don't even know 9/11. There's an entire generation of kids that grew up that have no idea about what happened on 9/11, or they learn it with some sort of political slant. And I don't want that to happen. I want them to grow up. I want them to know the truth of what happened that day, that we know. Because we don't need to be putting political slants to anything. This is just a day that happened in our nation's history, and it's important to remember, because we need to remember the people that died. We need to remember the people that are going out there and that did the cleanup, that have died from different lung problems that they had. They got lung cancer, or they got in the rubble, they had rubble fall on them or something of that nature during the cleanup. I still remember as a truck driver, because I started driving truck in the end of 2001, and my first load was to New York City, and there were just garbage trucks upon garbage trucks leaving New York City and going out to Pennsylvania, and that's all you would see while you were driving out there, is just garbage truck upon garbage truck, and I just know that it's a part of our nation's history, and it's a day that we need to remember, and it's a day that we can't hide from our kids, but it's a day that we need to teach our children. My son is 22 years old tomorrow. His name is Dominic. So Dominic, happy birthday. I know that you're not watching the program, and I don't know how I can reach you, because I don't know your phone number anymore. But I love you, son. And I really do wish that I was spending more time paying attention to him than what was going on the TV that day. But my sister told me on the phone that it was probably going to be, a horrible day to have a child, because no one was going to remember my son's birthday. But it turns out that I always remember my son's birthday, not only because of it being such an important day for him, but because it is such an important day. And I know that there's a lot of parents that had babies that day, and share the same thoughts that I had. I still remember being in the hospital the day of September 11th, and holding hands with complete strangers that I've never met before, all of us praying and just unsure where we were going. But we came out of it. We're here, we're alive, we're still one country, we're still the United States of America. We pulled through it. We've gone through a lot of hard times over these past few years. This past decade has been a lot of hard times. But if we can survive a terrorist attack where they wanted to completely destroy our country and bring us to our knees, we can survive anything. We are the American people. We live on the best country that God has gave earth. And we have some of the best men and women in uniform that are willing to give their lives for each and every one of us without hesitation. Not only the men and women in military uniforms, but the men and women in first responder uniforms. All of the people that went up those towers knowing that there was going to be a possibility that they may not come back, they still ran to those towers. The founder of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, his brother, he ran through the Holland Tunnel to the towers so that he could help people, because he was a first responder. He worked for the fire department out there. And if you want to give to them, feel free to give to them. Anything that helps our veterans and our first responders, that's what we need to do, because we owe them everything. We owe them our life, we owe them our gratitude, and we owe them for the freedoms that we have in this country. So thank you, Dan. thank you to all the men and women that are out there that are serving this country now. If you're watching, and if you're not, I hope this message gets out to you somehow. And I thank all of the men and women in law enforcement, in the fire department, and in the medical services, because without all of you, there's so many more people that could have died that day. We'll get some closing statements from Dan and GMoney, and then we'll close out the program.
Yeah. I guess I'm up.
Yep.
Okay. Well, just just remember the sacrifices that everybody made that day. They didn't. They went to work. They wasn't expecting, the attack. Nobody was. And just remember the soldiers that, they went over afterwards, and the first responders. I have a couple first responder friends that have passed in the line of duty, and I more than I want to admit to. A lot of my brothers and sisters that I served side by side with. And I think I lost audio.
No, you're still good. I can still hear you.
All right. But, just take time tomorrow and think of everybody, and think of the family members that have been left behind. That is just, that's one of my biggest fears when I was over there. If I ended up dying or whatever, it was, what is my wife going to do? My kids. And it's very unsettling, I guess. I don't know how to say it, but, it was a big weight on my shoulder, every time I got home.
Absolutely. GMoney?
Well, I know tomorrow is going to be a Monday, so I have a suggestion or two. A lot of people may be going back to work tomorrow. A lot of people in the towers can never go back to work. But I will say, during those horrific events, there was a lot of heroism conducted by many, many people that didn't even know they had it in themselves. It was just a reaction for them. They just reacted because they knew. It was just in their heart. Some people just do that without thinking of the consequences. So I encourage and implore everybody to, you can YouTube it, whatever, but there's so many stories of heroism, especially at the towers, that it'll just break your heart. It'll just break your heart. When I say break your heart in an emotional way, a lot of people risked their lives and did still come out alive, conducting tremendous acts of valor. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, Dan, thank you very much for your service. GMoney, I know that you did dispatching for the Delaware State Police, and I thank you for your service because that was a noble service as well, sir. But I appreciate all of you for joining our 9/11 special today. I thank you for indulging me. This is kind of a special thing on my end, and I really hope that if you enjoyed this, that you would share this tomorrow, because it is going to be 9/11 tomorrow. So share this on your community tab, share it on your Facebook, share it on your Instagram. Let's get this video out so that we can share our appreciation for all of those that have served, and our thoughts and prayers for all those that have perished. I thank you all for coming along for this ride with me and Dan and Gary, and we'll see you later on down the road. Bye, everybody.